Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Real Frontier here on Gateway Sports. We kind of have some breaking news that just happened in the arena world just like a few hours before the show, and it's kind of interesting. I'll just say this is the third time that has happened this season. We also got continuing of the International League, which another game was suspended, and just many more stuff here that happened this previous week here. Excuse me. First game, of course, I call it a tune-up game, and honestly, both me and Zach last week agreed that this is how it usually goes. And the Louisiana Rubaroo beat an out-of-league team with called the Herd 50-8. Yeah, this was a no dud type of proposition here, and that's just how it goes to that there. Then next game, which goes with the breaking news that just happened just a few hours ago, we got the Dallas Bulls against the Omaha Beef, the winless Omaha Beef, which they cannot say that anymore. The Omaha Beef handily beat the Dallas Bulls pretty handily, and it's like after all the turmoil, new head coach, and just a huge shakeup with that organization, and just the fact before this being winless, they beat the Dallas Bulls 52-18. They shut them out in the odd quarters, and the Bulls were able just to score a little bit in the second and the fourth quarter. And the Omaha Beef beat the Dallas Bulls 52-18, as I say. And stats go for the Bulls. Samuel Seward, 13-29, 114 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 2 rushing attempts for a yard, and a running TD. Running back to John Richard, 9 attempts, 12 yards, and a touchdown, 5 receiving yards for 43 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Cameron Catharis, 2 receptions for 25 yards. Their best defensive player performance, DeVary Smith, 3 tackles, 2 attacks, and 1 one pass defense. And then for the Omaha Beef, Giovanni Sanders, 10-15, 201 yards, 6 TDs, 1 interception, 4 attempts for 6 yards. Running back David Rosaris, 7 attempts for 26 yards. Wide receiver DeVary Confe, 5 receptions, 116 yards, and 3 TDs. Wide receiver Daquan Dudley, 2 receptions, 46 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Lorenzo Thompson, 1 reception, 34 yards, and a touchdown. And best offensive performance for the Omaha Beef, Brandon Munez, 3 tackles, 2 attacks, 2 sacks, which both those sacks were 2 safeties. Now, going into, from now on, I hate to say this, but for the rest of the National Arena League season, the Dallas Bulls are no longer part of the league. This is what came out just a few hours ago. National Arena League announces removal of Dallas Bulls. The National Arena League today announced the immediate removal of the Dallas Bulls organization from league participation for the remainder of the 2026 season, effective immediately. This action follows a formal review conducted by the league regarding compliance with league operational standards and contractual obligations required of all member organizations. Based on the findings of this review, the Dallas franchise has been determined to be in material breach of its league agreement, including but not limited to failure to satisfy required financial and administrative obligations. As a result, the league has exercised its right under the governing requirements to remove the organization from the 2026 schedule. The integrity and stability of the National League is our top priority, said Commissioner Brandon Eckhard. All member organizations are held to the same standards, and when those standards are not met, we have a responsibility to act in the best interest of the league, our teams, our players, and our fans. The NAL has taken steps to ensure minimum disruption to the remainder of the 2026 season, including adjustments to the league schedule. Updated matchups are as follows. This is to replace the Dallas Bulls. Some things, and shockingly, it's only 3 games. May 2nd, this weekend, it's the Southwest Kansas Storm versus the Amarillo Warbirds. May 10th, going to have another Battle of Colorado matchup with the Pablo Punishers versus Colorado Spartans on May 10th. That's again to watch the weekend after that. Then finally, on May 30th, the Omaha Beef versus Louisiana Ruby. No further details regarding the review will be made public at this time. So this would actually be the third team being kicked out of their league, which is this is the first team being kicked out in the National League, while the other two were the AIF, which of course was the Northern Michigan Muskies, and also the Wyoming Cavalry, which the Wyoming Cavalry are actually still playing. And honestly, I kind of think the Cavalry might be got wronged here. That's just my opinion, of course. Now, the Dallas Bulls, similar to the Wyoming Cavalry a few years ago with the AF, also responded back. Hold on here, loading, loading, loading. Here we. Things are probably slowed down if people can't hear. There's, with a metal roof, some rain coming down just now. There we go. Here we are. From the Dallas Bulls Facebook page. For immediate release, Dallas Bulls organization responds to NAL announcement. The Dallas Bulls acknowledge today's announcement for the National League regarding our removal for the remainder of 2026 season. While we respectfully disagree with the league's characterization of our operation, we remain committed to transparency, professionalism, and long-term growth for arena football in North Texas. Over the past several months, the Bulls have invested significant resources into bringing high-energy, family-friendly football back to the region. Our games at Fair Park Coliseum have drawn strong community support, created local jobs, activated utilized space, and contributed to the city of Dallas border goal of revitalizing Fair Park as a year-round destination. We want to be clear. The Dallas Bulls are not folding. Our organization is stable, our ownership group remains committed, and we are actively exploring multiple league and venue opportunities that align with our vision for sustainability, community-driven arena football. We will continue to operate, engage our fans, support our players and staff, and evaluate the best path forward to the Bulls brand. This moment is not an ending, it is an opportunity to build something stronger for the region. We appreciate the continued support of our fans, partners, and the Dallas community. More updates will be shared in the coming days as we finalize the next steps. Dallas Bulls ownership and executive team. Now, if you've seen my last week's guest, Zach Hillman, post on his X and Facebook, he already put a response about this. And of course, the owners of the Dallas Bulls have had similar troubles in the past. And this is actually their third time doing this. So, unlike my opinion with the Wyoming Cavalry, I have serious questions about the Dallas Bulls. So we'll see what they do in the next ways. And like I said, this is the third team that has been kicked out of the Arena League, but this is the first outside the AIF. Well then, guess we'll go with the excuse me there. The next game here, of course, it's the battle of the Kansas teams here, and boy, did it not disappoint at all. Southwest Kansas Storm beat the Sarah Liberty by 1 point, 27-16. This was just mostly a dead heat in the first half, but then it was just all Southwest Kansas Storm shutting out the Saline Liberty in the second half, beating them in the Battle of Kansas, which they also will probably face each other again. And don't be surprised, this is a playoff matchup for the National League here. Southwest Kansas Storm quarterback Trey Self, 14 through 22, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception, 3 rushing attempts for 8 yards. Running back Jadae Sutton, 9 attempts, 73 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions, 8 yards. Wide receiver Mason Pierre, 3 receptions, 52 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Matt Pierce, 3 receptions, 22 yards and a touchdown. And best defensive performer for the Storm, defensive line Jarari Stevens, 9 tackles, 1 attack, 1 fumble, forced fumble, and also recovered that fumble. For Salina, quarterback Evan Lewinwoodowski, 20 through 27, 141 yards, 0 TDs, 0 interceptions. Yeah, most of the scoring from the Liberty came on the ground. Running back Tracy Brooks, 18 to 10, 49 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 receptions for 32 yards. Wide receiver Kavon Samuels, 5 receptions, 26 yards, 4 attempts, 22 yards, 2 TDs. Best defensive performance for the Liberty, Deion Canelin, 6 tackles, 1 pass defense. Then you got another good game in the National League, which is the Sioux City Bandits and Pablo Punishers. I do not have stats for this game because when I tried to retrieve it, for some reason they said that site was problematic with my internet, either with Wi-Fi or without it. So I don't know what that site has done for either Spectrum or Apple. So I'm a little confused on that. So guess we'll figure that out. But on that game, the Sioux City Bandits beat the Pablo Punishers 35-22. Now we get to the Indoor Football League, which, as of right now, is probably the most stable league out, like the number one league out of all the arena leagues at the moment. And then for the first game, we got two of the top teams, which is the newly moved Orlando Pirates against the Green Bay Blizzard. And yeah, this was just a battle in each quarter, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth type of deal. It's games that you do like to see. Unfortunately, just that all offense and defense didn't really do kind of much here, but I digress. But it was still like I'm a defensive guy. I played defense in high school and college, but this was an offensive game, and this is what a lot of people in the arena world like to see, mostly offense. But then, like I said, the Green Bay Blizzard just narrowly beat the Orlando Pirates in Week 7 of the IFL, 71-68, and a lot of good stats here from both sides here. Orlando quarterback Parton DeLonte, 15-23, 182 yards, 4 TDs, 4 attempts, 3 yards, and a touchdown. Running back Puka Williams, 7 attempts, 29 yards, 29 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions for 11 yards. Then also 5 kick returns for a combined 129 yards and a return TD. Wide receiver Thomas Owens, 6 receptions, 82 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 attempts, 16 yards. Yeah, 16. Wide receiver Theo Redding, 4 receptions, 57 yards, and a touchdown. Also, wide receiver Naquan Murray, 3 receptions, 32 yards, and a touchdown. Also scoring on the ground, 2 rushing attempts for 8 yards and a touchdown. Best defensive performance for the Pirates, Corey Coleman, 7 solo and 3 assists. Green Bay, Liam Thompson, 621, 185 yards, 6 TDs, 1 rushing attempt for a yard and a rushing TD. 17 yards and 1 rushing TD. Running back DeMolin Brown, 13 attempts, 41 yards, 2 TDs, 2 receptions, 9 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Drayson Hudson, 6 receptions, 69 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Isaac Ross, 4 receptions, 53 yards, a touchdown, and then also 5 returns for 73 yards total with a return touchdown. Wide receiver Terrell Carey, 3 receptions, 31 yards, and 2 TDs. Then on best defensive for the Blizzard, Brian Leger, 6 solo, 4 assists, 1 sack with a tackle for loss. And it is still quite interesting that even with Green Bay, like I said last week, them losing their quarterback and star running back to the Arizona Rattlers, Green Bay is still pretty much the same where they're at. Still one of the top teams within the Indoor Football League. So I think people are kind of wondering when the Green Bay. I think there is a Green Bay versus Arizona matchup coming up soon, but if not, there should be at least one. This will be a playoff matchup and possibly for the championship for 2026. All right, next game we got the Northern Arizona Wranglers against the San Antonio Gunslingers, and the Gunslingers come up with a win somehow because me and Zach thought the Wranglers will do better, but the Gunslingers finally got a victory. So get a victory after all this time. And beat the Wranglers 32-14. And the Gunslingers was just better on defense. And all Wranglers could do was just field goals in the first half, and it wasn't until the fourth quarter when they finally scored a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to actually do anything. Just the Gunslingers were able to actually score. And mostly they got some scores coming from their kicker, especially all in the fourth quarter. So, yes, Northern Arizona quarterback Ramon Atkins, 6-18, 38 yards, 0 TDs, 0 interceptions, 2 rushing attempts for 10 yards. Running back Nolan Soso, 8 attempts, 34 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Karan Ashley, 3 receptions for 22 yards and then 14 yards rushing as well. Best defensive performance, Karan Page, 5 solo, 4 assists, 9 total tackles, 1 interception, and also 1 pass breakup. San Antonio Gunslinger quarterback Fred Payton Jr., 10 through 21, 158 yards, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions, 8 attempts, 24 yards, and a touchdown. Running back Sean Butler Lawson, 9 attempts, 18 yards, 1 reception, 12 yards. Wide receiver Deion Cook, 5 receptions, 84 yards, 2 TDs. Defensive Ravaris Rivers, 1 solo, 4 assists, 5 total tackles, 1 fumble recovery, 1 interception, and 2 pass breakups. Let's see. And game that me and Zach were not surprised of last week. Fisher's Freight bring the winless Iowa Barnstormers, but I will admit Iowa did put up a better fight than what they have been, but they still lost, and Fisher's Freight beat the Iowa Barnstormers 53-31. Still hard to believe with that franchise how far they have fallen. Man. But Fisher's Freight only being their second year in existence, being this powerful in their history and this short a time, and they will probably be in the playoffs for the IFL in 2026. Hold on, I need to fix this here. Get that out of there, and that out of there, and get that ready. Okay. Excuse me. So next we got a very good game, probably the best game out of the whole indoor football league this last weekend. Get with the Tulsa Oilers and the Arizona Rattlers coming to right to the end of the Rattlers beating the Tulsa Oilers by 1 point, 64-63. And just a little bit of reminder, when it comes to betting within, especially an indoor football league, the over-under usually is 88, and quite a few have gone the over, but still there is those unders there, so please bet responsibly. And hold on. All right, so this was just a good game, good battle between Max Maylor and TJ Edwards. Once again, like the defense is just like there was no defense hardly in this game. Well, at least in the secondary part, but this was a good game, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this was also a playoff matchup too with Tulsa. With you can't never go wrong when you have TJ Edwards as your quarterback. Okay, hold on here. Let me get this because I want to get this set up here for. Okay, there we go. There we go. All right, and stats for the game for Tulsa quarterback TJ Edwards, 7 through 22, 194 yards, 4 TDs, 9 rushing attempts for 34 yards and 2 TDs. Running back Mike Kerrigan, 5 rushing attempts, 10 yards, 1 TD. Excuse me, 3 receptions for 67 yards. Wide receiver Jamonix Smith Sr., 10 receptions, 72 yards, and 3 TDs. Wide receiver Spencer Tears, 3 receptions, 17 yards, and a touchdown. Uh, on the defense, Turok Bracey, 6 tackles and one assist. Then Max Mailer for Arizona got 22 to 28, 215 yards, 5 TDs, 9 attempts for 32 yards. Running back Ron Brown Jr., 7 attempts, 65 yards, 2 rushing TDs, and 1 reception for 17 yards. Running back Kamani Clark, 7 attempts, 26 yards, 2 TDs, 2 receptions for 9 yards. So they basically had a one. This time they usually have Kamani Clark as their big running punch, but they had a 1-2 punch here with Brown and Clark. Wide receiver Arlen Bruce, 11 receptions, 119 yards, 2 TDs, 1 attempt, 2 yards, and also 5 kick returns for 47 yards. Wide receiver Corey Reed Jr., 6 receptions, 60 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Trey Autumns Dukes, 1 reception, 5 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Keaton Hambrick, 1 reception, 3 yards, and a touchdown. Defensive best defensive performance for the Rattlers, DJ Lundy, 5 tackles, 1 assist, and a sack. Next, we got the Vegas Nighthawks, one of the best teams, and the New Mexico Chupacabras, which is kind of on the low. I thought they had potential, but as Zach mentioned, they're kind of run by Bush League people. So that's just a disappointment, and at least for now. And the Nighthawks, the defending champs, beat the Chupacabras handedly, 48-12, and oh no, I'm sorry, 68-12, and the Chupacabras, all they did was just score 12 all the first half. It just got completely shut out in the seconds. And Jerome Johnson, even though that former MVP, he couldn't really do much, but the defense for the Nighthawks just contained him and just caused turnovers. That's how they won this game. And the Nighthawks, Jaden Delora, did okay completion wise. Didn't really have to throw that much, but still got 3 TDs. So it's good to see the defending champs still doing this. It'll be interesting how they do for the rest of the season before heading to the playoffs here in the summer. New Mexico quarterback Jerome Johnson, 13-21, 133 yards and a touchdown, 2 interceptions, 6 attempts for 17 yards. Running back LaJames White, 6 attempts, 22 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 receptions, 29 yards. Defense player Cam Bright, 5 tackles, uh, 2 assists and a sack. And then Las Vegas quarterback Jaden Delora, 8-14, 87 yards, 3 TDs, 1 interception, 7 attempts, and 49 yards. Running back Josh Thomas, 12 attempts, 54 yards, 2 yards, 2 receptions, 20 yards. Wide receiver Quentin Randolph, 4 receptions, 53 yards, 2 TDs, then 2 rushing attempts for 9 yards and a touchdown. Let me double check. No, 1 attempt, sorry. Then you also have another running performance with Avon Rook, 5 attempts, 20 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Deshaun Stoudemire, 3 receptions, 32 yards and a TD. Best defensive performer Terry Roberts, 1 tackle, 2 assists, and 2 INTs. Then the next game, which I watched pretty well, which was the Jacksonville Sharks and the Quad City Steamrollers. And this was, boy, this one did not disappoint of going back and forth with every quarter. And this was a battle, of course. This is Jacksonville's 3rd year in existence. And Steamrollers, with the offensive powerhouse that DeQuan Neal is, like, it was just like neck and neck, but the Jacksonville Sharks barely just nail out the victory against the Steamrollers, getting the ball back at the tail end to run out the clock and beat the Steamrollers by 1 point, 39-38. A lot of 1 point margin games this week in the IFL. Quite interesting. Jacksonville quarterback James Cahoon, 14-22, 171 yards, 2 TDs, 6 attempts, 4 yards, and a touchdown. Running back Jimmy Robinson Jr., 8 attempts, 10 yards, 6 receptions, 78 yards, 4 returns for 50 yards. Running back Sammy Edwards, 4 attempts, 5 yards for 2 TDs. Wide receiver Red Duggs, 3 receptions, 44 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Jaden Stolshak, 3 receptions, 41 yards, and a touchdown. Best defensive performance, John Huggies, 2 tackles, 5 assists, and an interception. For the Steamrollers, DeQuan Neal, 18-28, 204 yards, 5 TDs, 2 interceptions, 9 attempts for 13 yards. Running back Gerard Ware, 4 attempts, 14 yards, 3 receptions for 32 yards. Wide receiver Kevon Rudd, 5 receptions for 80 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 attempts of rushing, but for only a yard. Wide receiver Quan Williams, 6 receptions, 77 yards for 3 TDs. And best defensive performer Kashawn Moore, 2 tackles, 1 assist, and a sack. Excuse me. Final game of this week in the IFL, we have the Tuscan Sugar Skulls against the San Diego Strike Force. And this was not surprising. The San Diego Strike Force playing in their building, which interesting. Before that, the Oceanside Bombers played there. So it's still weird how 2 arena teams in 2 different leagues play in the same arena. It's still weird and interesting how that is. And it started out good at first for the it was still the it was still like a competitive game for the first three quarters. Then at the tail end, the San Diego Strike Force just scored three scores in order to beat the Sugar Skulls 42-25. Tuscan quarterback Drayan Ellis, 3 for 7, 19 yards, two attempts, for 6 rushing yards. No, 6 attempts for 20 yards for rushing. My bad. Uh, then he had another quarterback, 1 through 4, 4 yards and an interception, 2 attempts for 6 yards. Running back Tavon Thomas, 7 attempts for 8 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Jerron Morris, 1 reception for 10 yards. Yeah, they only get 2 touchdowns, and most of theirs came from kicking, or the Rouges, if I should say. Um, Then you got Nate Davis, 17-33, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 rushing attempts for a yard and a rushing TD. Running back Terrell Green Jr., 3 attempts for 10 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Dallas Davis, 6 receptions, 91 yards and a touchdown. Uh, Wide receiver Jalen Sample, 6 receptions for 30 yards and a touchdown. Best defensive performance Adam Anderson, 4 tackles, 2 assists, and a sack. Now we get to the Arena Football 1 here, and very good week 3, I will say, for the Arena Football 1, I will say. But for the first game, this basically proved the levels of the AF1, why Nashville Cats is in the top tier, while the Washington Wolfpack was in the bottom. And I mean directly at the bottom. The Nashville Cats beat the Washington Wolfpack 45-3. They were only able to score a field goal in the second quarter, get shut out in the rest. They just couldn't get anything done. They couldn't. The line for the Wolfpack just can't get anything done for their quarterback. It's like he didn't turn the ball over, but he's just not getting enough protection time. The quarterback Jalov McCligley, 16-35, 110 yards. No rushing. Fullback Voja Hendricks, 5 attempts for only 5 yards, so the running game was non-existent. And they're one of the best wide receivers from last year, Akir Greer, 8 receptions for 68 yards. He needs to get on a better team. Best defensive linebacker Dante Reed. Nashville quarterback Tyler Coca, 12-24, 189 yards, 4 TDs, 1 attempt for 0 yards. Fullback Austin Collier, 3 attempts, 2 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver BK Smith Jr., 6 receptions, 82 yards, and 3 TDs. Wide receiver Malik Honey got 5 receptions for 70 yards and a touchdown. Defensive back Amos Coleman III got 1 kick return for 50 yards and a touchdown. And best defensive performer for Nashville Cats, Jaquan Artist, 87. I'm sorry. Excuse me. 7 tackles and 5 attacks. There. And unfortunately, this week, where there were some staff problems, usually in the IFL, they were in the AF1 this time, and that I couldn't get stats for either the Minnesota Monsters Michigan Arsenal game or the Albany Firebirds or Oregon Lightning game. But I will say, even though there were sets, even though the Minnesota Monsters beat the Michigan Arsenal 45-25, Arsenal, for even though they're on 3, have actually been a pretty tough team to play. You got Malik Henry being their quarterback from Lance Chanchu, and he's doing good stuff there. Minnesota Monsters, even though, like, it's interesting, I need to mention this, that recently the Arena League was trying to put out a cease and desist letter with the Minnesota Monsters because of that move they made. They're still playing, so this is going to be kind of interesting moving forward for them. And Minnesota, they're doing better, getting I believe their first victory in the 8-man game here with 45-25. Then the Albany Firebirds and the Oregon Lightning, like, I just wish the Lightning just had some more firepower. The Albany Firebirds just 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 took over the game and beat the Oregon Lightning 48-24. Not really much to say. Any other game, the Oregon Lightning would have won, but against the Firebirds, nope. Then me and a few other people, including Zach Hill and my guests, we have to give a big clap for the Baymont Renegades because they fixed their streaming problems compared to last week, where it was just one camera angle, fuzzy, and then this last week in clear, multiple camera angles. I'll say, and also their female commentator was very knowledgeable and very entertaining. So another props for them too. It was just glad to see a vast improvement on this and just to get it fixed because last week the one before was just a straight up embarrassment. And like I said, they had a press release with the AF1 just because how bad it is. So, final game here. Like, this was a good competitive game. You got the Baymont Renegades that moved from the National Arena League, and then the I call it pretty one of the hot more expansion teams, the Oceanside Bombers. But the Baymont Renegades, after the embarrassing loss that they took last week, they beat the Oceanside Bombers 64-55. Very good game, and like it was just good to see that it was in multiple angles, clearer picture, and just be able just to see the whole game. It was just tremendous. And it's like it's still weird, like compared to last week, it felt like I was watching something back in the 90s or something like that on VHS. So stats for this game here: Oceanside quarterback Rudy Johnson, 16-21, 106 yards, 4 TDs, 0 interceptions, 3 rushing attempts for 14 yards and a touchdown. Running back Lonnie Big Hamill, 1 attempt for 2 yards. Wide receiver Jalen Tucker, 5 receptions, 36 yards, and 2 TDs, 1 attempt, 20 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Tajon Brooks, 4 receptions, 90 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Vincent Strange Jr., 8 receptions, 90 yards, and a touchdown. Best defensive performer for the Bombers, linebacker Donovan Thurman, 6 tackles. Then Baymont quarterback Andrew McBride, 22 out of 44, 304 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception, then 3 attempts for -7 yards, and also played into the receiving game, catching a 10-yard pass for a touchdown. He did it all. Wide receiver Jermaine Neal, 6 touch, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also, they didn't really run much, which is surprising. They were basically mostly a pass-happy offense, which is you kind of need the run game a little bit, guys. Zuri Davis, 10 receptions, 135 yards, 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Jalen Shoeliner, 2 receptions, 20 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Don Troy Morrison, 2 receptions, 72 yards. Best defense for defensive lineman Sidney Jones, 3 tackles and a sack. Now we go to the 2 excuse me, the 2 AAL games. The Whalen Mountains Columbus Lion game, even though the outcome was correct for me and Zach, the Columbus Lion beat the Wheeling Miners, I did not expect this game to be this close because Wheeling Miners kept it ahead with them, and this was a good back and forth. And heck, saw one of the more cleanest kick returns I've seen all season in this game. And Columbus Lions only beat the Wheeling Miners 46-44 by 2 points. It should not be, in my opinion, should not have been this close, at least for the first meeting. The second meeting between the two, sure. First meeting, no. Not at all. Now for the second and last game. This was a complete opposite. This was a one-sided game from beginning to end. The Jersey Bearcats beat the Mississippi Wolfpack 42-8. 42-8, man. Not good at all. Now we get to the International League. The International Arena League, I'm sorry to say. Something happened again, and one of their Europe games actually got canceled again. All I know is it got canceled. I couldn't find that if it was because of logistical reason, but it just got canceled. So that needs to get fixed pretty quickly here. Both the two American side games went on without a hitch. Both of them were actually broadcasted, and strangely, both of them were very close competitive games. Though pretty soon there was some little controversy that did happen over the weekend, but with a team that didn't play. So first game, like the Arizona Juggernauts went to Cincinnati, and the Slingers beat the Juggernauts by 1 point, 33-32. Very competitive game. It's on their YouTube. I recommend go see that game. Then you have the Utah Great Eights going to Pennsylvania. Another close game, competitive. Uh, Pennsylvania Benjamins with their best theme deal to charge their seats for $17.76. People don't know it's the 250th anniversary of the us becoming a country. Very good game. I also recommend it. Seeing this one too. It just surprisingly, and it shows how Zach mentioned that the Benjamins ownership, they've done this before, and if the International League doesn't really pan out, I recommend that some of these teams that are looking at maybe the AF1 should take a look, because they are perfect locations for where their league is currently. And like I said earlier, the Dusseldorf Warriors and the Stuttgart Stallions game was canceled. And then the final game of the week, you had the England Raptors beat the Zurich Ibex 39-29. That and I couldn't find any highlights of this game, so I'll just say that they just won. And then, interesting enough, an interesting stat that came out by World of Football that the Michigan Arsenal game that was played on the black turf of Michigan, that was the first arena game in Michigan played in about 12. It's either 12 or 13 years, so that's quite surprising in Michigan. So now breaking down the here, and I just hope for the International League. They need to just they got some good momentum in some aspects, but they still need a lot of work. I do like how their numbers and hash marks, they're more bolder and brighter. You actually can see them. It's just that some of their dashboards, you don't really see the ads. And the biggest thing here, as I said before, came from or maybe now the former kicker of the Las Vegas Rockers. He put out a statement on Instagram here. Is that uh, Gunnar Aborn. I played for the Las Vegas Rockers this past week. Let's just say I'm not going to be a part of this team or league anymore. We didn't have equipment until the day of the game, hours before the game. The best part was they didn't have a jersey or football pants for me. So instead of me getting warmed up to play our game, I'm on the phone with my girlfriend while she drove to 5 different retail stores looking around to find me football pants. So eventually the officials just let me wear my basketball shorts to play it. Oh, and I had to end up wearing a 3XL jersey. I am the kicker, the smallest guy on the team by far. Then I got handed to me right at kickoff. Coach just told me to suck it up. This was by far the worst experience I've ever had. I will not say I'm a part of this organization. Oh, and one more thing. International League, none of our players have been paid. So we're going to see some stuff there for the Rockers, because he's saying that they have not been paid, and this is even though they didn't play, that this is week 2. So you're kind of wondering where's the money here, because they did play at home on week 1. Uh, and they do actually play this week, the Las Vegas Rockers, but somewhere else, but actually quite close. And I kind of think Zach might be going to this game, actually. All right, breakdown of the games happening this weekend here. It's a little more shorter in some parts. 3 games National League, on all of them on Saturday. Salina Liberty versus Louisiana Rubidoux at 7:05 Central Time. I have the Liberty on that one. Southwest Kansas Storm versus the Amarillo Warbirds at 6:30 Central Time. Got the Storm on that one. Then you got the Battle of Colorado here. The Pablo Punishers versus the Colorado Spartans, 7 o'clock Mountain Time. Coin flip right now, actually. And all those games are on, you can see on the National Arena League Network. IFL, the Saturday games, Green Bay Blizzard versus Fisher's Freight. That's going to be a very good one. at 5 o'clock on Yahoo Sports Network. Uh, I'm going to go with the Blizzard. The Quad City Steamwheelers versus the Iowa Barnstormers at 6 o'clock on overnight. Steamwheelers. Nor, no, New Mexico Chupacabras versus Jacksonville Sharks at 7:30 Eastern time on overnight. I mean 7 o'clock. Sorry. The Sharks, San Diego Strike Force versus the Tulsa Oilers at 8 Eastern time on Yahoo. I think I got San Diego just edging Tulsa just a little bit. San Diego Gunslinger versus the Tuscan Sugar Skulls at 9 o'clock on overnight. I'll go with the Gunslingers on this one. Sunday game, and there's only one that's on Yahoo at 7 o'clock. Arizona Rattlers versus the Vegas Nighthawks. Probably the game of the week here, and probably is going to be a conference championship game for the playoffs. I'll go with the defending champs, the Vegas Nighthawks. Arena Football 1. All these games you can see on YouTube, and, well, I can't recall which one is the Vice game. I think it's probably the last one, more than likely. Saturday game, Albany Firebirds versus the Washington Wolfpack at 6 o'clock. Firebirds. That's going to be a slaughter against the Wolfpack. Oregon Lightning versus Michigan Arsenal at 7 o'clock. I'll say Michigan gets their first victory here. On Sunday, the Minnesota Monsters versus the Oceanside Bombers at home. I might go with Oceanside to get their another win at home. And the Nashville Cats versus the Kentucky Barrows at 3. This probably is the Vice game. Nashville on this one. AAL, you got the Jersey Bearcats versus the Wheeling Miners. This actually might be a coin flip, but I'll just give an edge to Jersey. Then you got the Mid-State Wolfpack versus Columbus Lions. Columbus. International Real League Week 3. Hoping none of the games get canceled this time. Go with the Stuttgart Stallions over the Zurich Ibex. I got because of what happened with the Rockers, I got the Arizona Juggernauts over the Las Vegas Raiders on Saturday. Just a reminder, the Stuttgart Stallions and the Zurich Ibex is the only Friday game this week. Then Sunday, I got the Glasgow Tartans beating the England Eruptors. Then we have a rematch from already for the past weekend. But we have Pennsylvania going to Utah. And this is just a coin flip because the game was close the last time, so I'm expecting the same thing. And that will do it for this week here on Arena Frontier. As I said, we got a pretty good weekend here. We only got one Friday game. Most of them are on Saturday, but then we got a few on Sunday sprinkle in. So pretty good week. And also the question is, like, after this week, will there be another team that get kicked out of their league or something? It's just pretty interesting. And just a reminder that also the Arena League is going to start their play here soon at the end of May here. So they're going to be starting soon. And then pretty much the NAL is going to pretty much end. So their season. So it'll be interesting. And as I said before, I'm not really going to be covering the AIF because the whole thing that's there. We know that the West Michigan Ironmen probably going to win their championship again. So we'll just have to see. So anyway, thank you for joining me this evening. Make sure to catch us next Tuesday, 7 o'clock here on the Gateway Sports for Arena Frontier. See you all next week.